better or worse, there are now more TV shows than ever before, with more ways of watching them, subscribing to them, talking about them, and, of course, paying for them. But with so much TV shoved down our screens comes an insane amount of competition. And while networks and streaming services are now more likely to take a risk on something they would have balked at 10 years ago, the same old rules largely apply when it comes to cancellations. And since there are more shows, then that also means that more shows are being cancelled. While it's generally May that brings the biggest slew of programs going up to the chopping block when the networks make the upfronts presentations and decide their schedules for the coming year, 2019 has already seen a number of major TV shows bite the dust. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 12 TV shows already cancelled in 2019. And why? Number 12, Into the Badlands. AMC's Into the Badlands, which follows a warrior and a young boy as they journey through a, well, bad land, is a solid enough show with one absolute standout quality. The storytelling may not be anything particularly special, but the series delivers some of the best fight choreography on the small screen. Its blistering martial arts action has helped sustain it for 3 fist-filled seasons, but its time has sadly run out. While its action is a draw, it wasn't really enough to sustain things long term. The show's ratings have dropped below 1 million viewers in Season 3, which has led to AMC announcing that it will be wrapping up after its final 8 episodes, which will get underway later this month. Number 11, Suits. Legal drama Suits has had a good run, becoming USA Network's longest-running series, but it's time for the law firm to be closed, in part because of the British royal family. Being British myself, sorry about that? While Suits was largely a solid hit, the show had to massively rejig things for Season 8, following the departure of leads Meghan Markle and Patrick J. Abrams, with the former stepping away from acting to focus on her royal duties. That has led to a decline in ratings, with the show slipping below 1 million viewers for the first time ever. And while USA are bringing it back for a 9th season, it's a massively reduced one, 8 episodes instead of 16 to wrap things up and then shift focus to the spin-off series Pearson. Number 10, Friends from College. Friends from College, the Keegan-Michael Key and Kobe Smulders starring sitcom, didn't get off to the best of starts, with its first season largely panned by critics. Despite that, however, it did come back for another go-round. Friends from College Season 2 did receive more positive reviews after ironing out some of the wrinkles, but evidently that wasn't enough to make another run worthwhile for the streaming service. Netflix initially started out by renewing almost everything. They operated differently to traditional networks and stood outside of that sphere. As they become an increasingly major TV player, however, they're also adopting more of the same rules, hence why shows like Friends from College fall by the wayside after just 2 seasons. Number 9, Counterpart. Despite possessing the talents of the brilliant J.K. Simmons in not 1 but 2 roles, and a high concept with Simmons working at an agency who oversee a crossing point to a parallel Earth, Starz' Counterpart has failed to really make any kind of breakthrough in its first 2 seasons. It's had some solid reviews, but the viewing figures have slipped right down to just 250,000 in Season 2, meaning that it hasn't been picked up for a 3rd run. It's not just the low viewing figures that have cost Counterpart, but rather the fact that Starz are looking to focus on more content produced in-house, whereas Counterpart comes from media rights capital with a more expensive license fee and cast. It's not all bad news for fans of the show, however, as MRG have announced they're shopping the series around in the hope of finding a home for the 3rd season. Number 8, I Love You, America. Sarah Silverman may have loved America, but it seems like America didn't love her, or at least her Hulu talk show. The show had Silverman attempting to unite a country so divided by politics, using a mix of talk show monologues, interviews, and other segments, and received nominations at both the Emmys and the Writers Guild Awards. Even with that recognition, though, it's ending after just 1 season. As with Netflix, Hulu doesn't release ratings data, but this does follow a pattern for streaming services struggling to break into the late-night talk show format, with Netflix canning similar shows from the likes of Michelle Wolf and Joel McHale. These shows rely heavily on their relevance, so they're harder to make for a streaming service, which might further explain the cancellation. Number 7, Crashing. It's all come crashing down for this HBO sitcom. Yep, I'm here all week, which comes from and stars comedian Pete Holmes. The semi-autobiographical comedy finds Holmes playing a fictionalized version of himself as a stand-up comedian whose wife leaves him and he resorts to crashing on various sofas. Executive produced by Judd Apatow, the series has received solid but unspectacular reviews over its 3-season run. While ratings don't matter as much to HBO as they do most networks, it was still towards the lower end of the scale in that regard, and without any real prestige to help balance things out. The finale, however, was written accidentally, according to Holmes, in a way that works as a series finale, while the comedian has also suggested a movie version could happen as well. Number 6. Channel Zero. Sci-Fi initially showed a great deal of faith in horror anthology Channel Zero, renewing the series for seasons 3 and 4 before the second run had even gotten underway. The show was largely well received, showed some promise in the ratings too, and freaked the hell out of me. But unfortunately for fans of the series, which was based on various creepypasta stories, it wasn't enough to keep it around much longer term. And the ratings had fallen to just over 250,000 viewers, making it Sci-Fi's second lowest rated show ahead of 12 Monkeys, which has already ended, and well behind the rest of the pack. The network hasn't been shy with cancellations. Take The Expanse last year, for example, as they take some bigger swings to see what pays off, and Channel Zero no longer made sense. Number 5. The Sun. Another one to bite the dust over at AMC, the Pierce Brosnan starring drama never really managed to make a splash, despite clearly being designed to break through into the prestige TV market. The Western, which focuses on Brosnan's cattle baron who aims to get into the oil industry, debuted back in 2017 and was quickly renewed for a second season, which AMC have since decided will be its last. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the show didn't play too well with the younger rapscallions in the audience, and Brosnan himself reportedly only had a short-term deal anyway, which likely would have meant forking out more money for season 3 or finding a replacement. Number 4. NIGHTFLYERS. If you recall, the last TV show to feature George R.R. Martin's name ended up doing pretty well, to say the least, so you can see why Sci-Fi decided to plaster the creator's name all over their new show. NIGHTFLYERS, which is based upon his novella of the same name, was an ambitious effort for Sci-Fi, a big ideas science fiction series that was reportedly the most expensive project produced by parent company NBC Universal. And they even got Netflix on board to help offset the cost, and tried to make the series an event by airing it over 10 consecutive nights in December. Unfortunately, it was a big swing and a miss for the show, which failed to capture even a small part of the audience Game of Thrones did, and despite having Netflix as a co-producer, it was clearly too expensive to justify a second season with such disappointing ratings. Number 3. Arrow. While Arrow is going to return for an 8th season later in the year, the show that started the Arrowverse will be leaving it when it's done, and with an abridged run of just 10 episodes rather than the usual 23. Arrow's ratings have declined over the years, and its quality has wildly fluctuated after its solid first season and brilliant second, but it also feels like the right kind of time for it to be going out. Star Stephen Amell apparently agrees as well, as he reportedly informed the producers a while ago that he wanted to depart from the show. There were then apparently discussions whether or not the show should continue without him. The storyline is in place where it could feasibly exist without Oliver Queen, but the CW ultimately decided to not let it. The Arrowverse started in 2012, and now the network is looking towards the next generation of DC shows, starting with Ruby Rose's Batwoman, which means Arrow needs to make room for the future. Number 2. Vikings. For years now, everyone has wanted to do their own Game of Thrones-esque hit, and to the end, History's Vikings has actually made a pretty decent fist of things. The History Channel Blood and Guts epic has so far enjoyed 5 seasons of pillaging and ravaging action, but after something of a major change of focus with Travis Fimmel departing the show, its time has sadly run out. Thankfully as well, History aren't being too abrupt with the cancellation, with the show getting a 6th season so it can at least have a proper ending. It's still History's highest rated scripted show ever, but those figures have declined in the past year, and History are now looking to the future. Project Blue Book is a new big offering, Nightfall is continuing to expand, and there's even a Viking spin-off in the works, as they look to grow beyond the series that really helped them make their name. Number 1. The Punisher and Jessica Jones. Coming into 2019, the writing was already on the wall for these two. Back in October, Netflix surprisingly cancelled Iron Fist and Luke Cage on the eve of Daredevil Season 3, and just 1 month later, that series was in the bin as well. It would have taken something dramatic for either The Punisher or Jessica Jones to survive after that, and a month after the former's second season debuted to mixed reviews and a bit of a shrug, it was announced that both were being cancelled. Jessica Jones Season 3 will still air at some point, but after that, the MCU is being wiped from Netflix like a victim of the snappening. There are a number of factors at play here. Declining interest in a set of shows with diminishing returns, the cost of making these series when Netflix are so focused on content they can 100% own that they're not driving subscribers, and, of course, Disney+. Although a lot of it comes down to the fact that so many have had the same problems, and that by the end, there were as many bad seasons as good ones. But that's our list. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Are you a bit gutted that these shows are bowing out, or are you happy to see them go? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.